Dear student, welcome again. I'm Dr. Vishal Kumar Lahiri, an assistant professor at Institute of Management Studies, Banaras Hindu University. We are studying the course titled Principles of Management. And so far, we have covered up half of our syllabus. In the syllabus or in the part 6 of the course, we have thoroughly understand about the concept of the staffing. We know what is the meaning of the staffing, what are the various processes and the steps involved in the staffing. We know what are the different elements of the staffing. That is your recruitment. And before that, we need to know the planning process of the staffing, where the manager is involved in understanding what are the problems in the organization and how these problems can be solved by selecting or having appropriate or skilled employees in the organization. Okay, so this was the very first step. Next, we have understood about the recruitment process. Recruitment means calling up the maximum number of candidates for the vacant post in the organization. Then moving beyond, we need to have the selection process, like selecting few candidates, best candidates suitable for the vacant post is your selection process. And then the candidate or the selected candidate will be placed towards their respective job. Then they need to have some training and development. Okay, so this is the overall staffing process we have gone so far. Now, in week 7 or the part 7, as you can see in the slide, we will be discussing the theories of the motivation. All right. So this particular week will be consisting of lecture 31 to 35. Now, let me just give you a brief overview about the part 7 or the week 7. In this particular week, we'll be understanding the concept of the motivation. Okay, we'll be discussing about the theories of the motivation. And we'll be discussing theories of or some motivational theories given by Maslow need hierarchy theory. I'm sure that you guys must have known about the Maslow's need hierarchy theory. It is very popular theory. Then we'll be discussing about the Herzberg two-factor theory. Two-factor will be your motivational factor and your hygiene factor. All right. We'll be discussing about the McGregor theory of X and Y and Auchi's theory at the last. So this whole week or this particular part will be very interesting because we will be learning so many things that will be not useful for just solving the business problem, but at the same time, it will be very much applicable to day-to-day activities of our life. Okay, so starting with the very important concept, the motivation. Okay, so what is motivation? As you can refer in the slide, motivation has been derived from the word motive. Okay, so until and unless you don't have any motive, motive means what? Your goals and the objective. All right, so any employee will be given the task for to complete any task. Okay, let us understand this concept from connecting the dots that we have learned so far. In the very first stage, we have discussed about the planning. All right, in the planning stage, what we do? We decide the plans and the objectives of the organization. What are the goals that the organization will be achieving in the future course? That is the planning. Then we will be moving towards organizing part. What is organizing? Collecting the resources or dividing the total task to be performed. Okay, we have discussed about the division of the work. Okay, it is one of the very important concept in the organizing. Then in the last module or in the last part, we have discussed about the staffing. Now, what is staffing? Like whatever the task that you have, like total activity you have divided in the organizing part. Now, who will be conducting those, or who will be performing those activity? It will be the manpower. Some manpower you will be requiring to recruit. That is, we have understood in the staffing process. Now, at the same time, the next process is your motivation. Okay. Now, until and unless the employee have some kind of motive, they are like some inner thing need to be the leader should instill some inner power within the employee to complete the organizational activity. Okay, so this is motivation. Motivation will be understanding a different thing, like the motivational theories, the communication, the leadership, the controlling. These will be the part that will be understanding or discussing in the upcoming parts. Okay, so very first thing is the motive itself. Motive means any purpose or any activity, the goal. And based on that, how the employees are like contributing, or they are like developing inner energy to achieve that particular motive. The motive could be the individual objective or the organizational objective. We'll be discussing these things. What is extrinsic motivation? What is intrinsic motivation? We'll be like understanding these concepts. But before that, what is motivation? The term motive refers to any factor that can launch and maintain activity. So two important aspects which is very important is initiating and maintaining the activity. Okay, as you can see in the in this particular slide, initiate and maintain. Now, who will be initiating the inner energy within the employee? Okay, it could be employee itself or the organization. All right, how employee within or inner energy will be initiated by the individual employee. If the employee feel that if working in an organization for like 10 years, okay, the employee will be promoted to the senior manager. All right, so it is a self-motivation thing where the employee like seeks that if they will be learning new skill set, they will be performing all their duties within the time frame, and after some period of time they will be like promoted. So this is something an individual is like self-motivated. Organizational motivation could be like the employees are getting an opportunity to take part in the decision making of the organization. Okay, that we have seen a principle which is initiative. Okay, so motivation refers to any factor that can launch and maintain the activity. It is an internal condition that stimulate, encourage, or people's of an individual action in a specific direction. Okay, so what is the specific direction? It is the organizational goals. All right, so I hope the very basic concept of the motivation you guys have understood. It is something which can be initiated and it can be maintained. It is something which is an internal energy or internal factor within the employee. It is something that the organization need to instill so that they can achieve the organizational objectives. All right, now try to understand the proper definition of motivation. According to EFL Brack, motivation is the general inspirational process which gets the member of the team to pull their weight effectively, to give their loyalty to the group, to carry out the properly task that they accept, and generally to play an effective part in the job that the group has undertaken. Okay, so this particular definition talks about the group activity. Okay, so what we have seen so far, what we have learned so far, that employee role is more with respect to the group activity. Like one of the very basic features that we have understood about the management, that the management is a group activity. Alright, group at the supervisory level, at the middle level, they are performing the activity in a group. Okay, so this definition talks about the group activity, how loyal you are with the group. Okay, suppose loyalty is something when you're working in a group, loyalty or interpersonal relationship, or how overall the benefits that you are achieving, these factors like act as a motivator for the employees. All right. So motivation is the act of directing an individual internal motivation, that is the initiation part as well as the maintaining part, and behavior towards certain objective and dedicating one effort to attain these objectives. It talks about the output part, that is your organizational objective. Okay, so once again, it is an individual internal motivation and behavior towards certain objective. So we'll be like discussing how the different theories talks about initiating the inner energy within the employee, how it can be practiced or it can be initiated by the management. So as of now, this is the very basic concept of about the motivation. Now moving beyond, we try to discuss about the different characteristics of the motivation. Very first one, motivation is an internal feeling. Okay. Very first one, it is an internal feeling, as we have discussed in the formula as well. Motivation is something which is like inner activity. Okay. And it is something which is generated or it is initiated from the inner side of the employee. Okay, so it is an internal feeling. It is very complex as well. It is very difficult to enhance the motivation or to initiate the motivation within the employee. Second is, it is a goal-directed behavior. Like what we have seen in the very first slide, it leads towards the organizational goals. Okay, so any motivation, why employees are or the organization is trying to motivate the employee. It may be through some economic factor and the non-economic factor. We'll be discussing in details about it. What is the output part? What the benefit that the organization will be getting? It will be towards stimulating the employee toward attaining some purpose. The purpose is that particular objective or the goals of the organization. So as you can see in this slide, motivation is an inner peace, not inner peace, but an inner energy, which is oriented towards what? Oriented towards your organizational goals. All right, it is organizational goals. Third one, it is a continuous process. An employee within the organization, they perform in different kind of projects. Okay, within the organization, different continuous activities are performed, and it may be that employee are working in the different categories of the activities. Okay, so an employee motivation or the organization should always try to ensure that the different parameters or different activities should be oriented towards enhancing the motivation of the employee. Within the organization, there could be different set of the employee or different temperament of the employee with respect to their motivation. It could be some employees are motivated purely because they are getting some kind of economic benefit, job security, all right, safety and other needs are met out and they are highly motivated. Whereas some set of employee, they will be more motivated or the motivation will derive from the other non-economic factors. Okay, so it is something which is continuously being revolving around within the employee, and all the employees should be given proper incentives. It may be economical incentive, non-economical incentives, for their continuous increase in the motivation. Okay. Motivation is complex. Why we call it motivational factors are the complex factor? Because it is based on some human element. Just like we have discussed, some employee will be like more motivated if they get some kind of wage hike in the wage, salary hike. Okay, some employee will be motivated, like they will be motivation level will be higher if they are given chance to take some kind of decision within the organization. So how the managers or the organization will be able to know it, which employee should be given what kind of benefits, so that their motivation can be goes up. Okay, so it is very complex process because there is some kind of human behavior element is incorporated. All right. Next is your motivation is an system oriented. Okay, like it has certain system, like we talk about the inner environment, and within the inner environment, inner and external, or you can call it as internal or the external. Internal could be employee and organization, and external could be your external factor or other than organization. Okay, now employee or the motivation can be upon the individual employee or the organizational factors. Okay, now employee with respect to their attitude, their learning perspective, their belief system. Okay, what are their needs and requirements? These factors will be individual, or it will be very subjective towards a employee level. Okay, it may be that within a single department, the aspiration, the needs, the attitude, beliefs, intention of all the employees are totally different. Okay, so we call it as a system approach, where the internal factor with respect to the employee factor and organizational factor. Organizational factor is with respect to the policies, the administration, the rules, the guidelines. These factors will also be a motivational factor for the employee. Okay, so one is the internal factor, and the external factor is with respect to the outside the organizational factors. Okay, suppose an employee is getting very good benefits from some other organizations. Okay, so the motivation can be derived from the other sources as well. Okay, which are beyond the control of the organization. You cannot control your competitors, but the employee within your organization is deriving some kind of motivation from the pay structure or any kind of benefit which is given to the which attracts your employees. Okay, next is motivation can be your positive or the negative motivation. We'll be understanding the concept. Positive motivation could be, suppose any project which is undertaken. Okay, like project XYZ. Okay, the time for the project is 3 to 4 months, and within 3 to 4 months you have to like wind up the project. Now within this particular time limit, okay, you can like motivate the employee with two factors. One is your positive factor, another is your negative factors. Now within that limited time period, you can like positively motivate your employee that after the completion of the project, some kind of rewards, okay, or some kind of shares or some kind of like foreign trip is being given. All right, so this will be something that the employee or it is an element of the motivation for the employee. At the same time, negative motivation could be that the deadline is 3 to 4 months. So any department or any employee will not be able to like complete within the deadline. There will be loss of pay. all right, or some kind of bonus which was announced, it will not be given, or it may be job loss as well. So these kind of things like negatively influence the behavior of the employee to complete the task so that he can save the job, he can save the wage cut. All right, so these are some of the factors which can positively as well as negatively motivate the employees. Next is motivation is different from job satisfaction. Okay, motivation is something which like derives an employee towards achieving the higher goals. All right, whereas job satisfaction is the output, or we can call it the end variable or the dependent variable of how you have performed. Job satisfaction can be positive as well as negative. If you have like efficiently performed the task, like within 3 to 4 months you have concluded the project, it will be like motivation is something which derives the individual for a particular activity which is not completed yet. Okay, like within the 3 to 4 months, it means the task is yet to be completed. If they will be completing, they will be getting the rewards. If they will not be completing, there will be some kind of wage cut. Now, job satisfaction is the outcome part of how you have completed the task. Suppose you completed within 3.5 months. Okay, 3.5 months. It means your job satisfaction will be higher because efficiently you have concluded the project. So motivation is a primary thing which like energizes the employee to complete the task, whereas job satisfaction is the output part, how you have efficiently you have concluded your project. So these were some of the factors, or these were the characteristics of the motivation. Now, as you can see in this figure, this is the process of the motivation. Like this figure will guide you how it starts, how the process starts, motivation process starts. Very first one, you will see the needs, or you can call it as the problem. Now let's try to understand with an example. The problem of the study is that brand X, for example, brand X is observing decline in sales. Sales is declining. Okay, so this was the problem. Now the brand X introduced a new project ABC, or the new product ABC. Now in order to increase the sales, all right, the sales persons or the salesperson should be working very exhaustively to sell the product in the market. Okay. Now the company has given the target that within 6 months, 2 lakhs unit should be sold out. So this is a very challenging task for the sales personnel to sell 2 lakh unit of the product of ABC within 6 months. So this is the problem of the study. This is the need for the organization to sustain in the market. Now this will create a tension within the employee or within the sales personnel about how to like achieve the total sales within 6 months. Okay, so this will like create a motivation, and they will take actions. Like they will be exploring the market, that how the different products can be sold out. Okay, and the output part will be that they will be succeed in this particular project, that they will be able to sell out the total product within 6 months. Okay, now if they succeed, their motivation level will be very high for any kind of new project, and it will be a continuous process as we have discussed, and this will go further with the new project. Okay, but as you can see, the two outcome could be there. One is succeed, another is you can fail, that you will not be, we're not able to meet out the sales of total sales within 6 months. So they need to change in the approach. Okay. Again, you will be changing the approach and action part will be there. And again, if you succeed, then the process will continue. And if you fail, then again the new approach will be there. Okay. So this is how the overall motivation work. Importance of the motivation, very first one is higher efficiency. The more and more highly motivated an employee will be, ultimately their efficiency will be higher. Suppose in this particular figure, if the employee or the salesperson succeed in the project, so ultimately their motivation will be higher and it will be helpful in in the upcoming project. Low absenteeism and turnover, like employee motivation can be derived from various sources. If the employee feels very highly motivated, the chances is that they will be sustained or they will be retained by the organization, or they will not be leaving the organization, or they will be very loyal towards the organization. Facilitates change. There will be a change within the behavior of the employee and overall the working process within the organization. Okay, if the employee is accomplishing the said objective, their approach will be changed. They will be more energetic towards new project. So this change we are talking about. Human relation, there will be a good interpersonal relationship between all the employee because they are working in a coordinated way. In the group activity they are working, so there will be good interpersonal skills within the organization. And last one is the corporate image. Like any company where the employees are like not leaving the job or they are not switching the job, shows that their working culture is very good. Okay, and that's why the employees are retained there. So it shows a good brand image over the industry. Okay, so these are some of the important factor, and we quickly discussed about the extrinsic and intrinsic motivation. As you can see, the concept of extrinsic motivation is with respect towards achieving something. Okay, or the output is with respect to like some kind of hike in the salary, some kind of rewards. Okay, so there is some materialistic thing attached with the extrinsic motivation. Okay, or at the same time avoiding some kind of punishment. Like we have taken the example where if you will not be able to complete the project, there will be a wage cut. So this is a part of the extrinsic motivation. Intrinsic motivation, like motivated to perform an activity for its own sake and personal rewards. It means like they will be more motivated towards self-development. Okay, like we will be completing the project and we'll be getting some new skills. So this is part of the intrinsic motivation. So let us discuss the point of differences between these two. Very first one, motivation through factor outside the organization or outside the job is the extrinsic motivation. Okay, motivation through factor inside the job is the intrinsic motivation. It means like you are getting some kind of reward. Okay, so this will be extrinsic motivation, but you are getting some kind of recognition from the boss that okay, you have done a very good job. So this is a part of your intrinsic motivation. Second is primarily financial incentive. As mentioned, there will be some kind of materialistic approach with respect to extrinsic motivation. Primarily non-financial incentive, like appreciation from your supervisor. So it is a non-financial incentive. Maintain mainly lower level needs, physiological and safety needs. Okay, so extrinsic motivation you will observe basically in the supervisory level, whereas it will be towards intrinsic motivation will be towards your upper level management, blue collar and white collar worker. All right, whereas in this particular intrinsic motivation it will be your executives. Money in cash or kind, and it will be job enrichment. Job enrichment is like how efficiently you are performing the job and what new roles which has been given to you. So these were the part of the extrinsic and intrinsic, and with this particular slide you will be able to know it what are the element like intrinsic motivation is like you are enjoying the job. That is not giving some kind of money, but a kind of motivation within you. So it is something intrinsic motivation, purpose, growth, passion, self-expression, fun. You're very curious to perform the job. These are the intrinsic part. Extrinsic is with respect to the promotion you are getting, pay hike, bonuses, benefits, prizes, winning, perks. So these will be your extrinsic part. So with this, we have completed this particular module. And in this module, we have thoroughly discussed about the concept of the motivation, what are the different characteristics and the importance of the motivation. And lastly, we got an idea about what is extrinsic and intrinsic motivation. So I leave you with this recommended or suggested books. You can go through it and you'll be learning so many additional things about the motivation. And in the module 32, we'll be discussing about the theories of the motivation, and we'll be starting with the Maslow need hierarchy theory. That's all for the module 31. Thank you.